Afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
We are here to discuss our retreat planning agenda and I think officer applications and all that. So, yeah, Greg. Oh, you're muted, I think, Greg.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think you're breaking.
I'm getting feedback.
Yeah. No. Stop.
Let's see. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
I think these earbuds give me feedback. AirPod. Okay. Wherever.
Sorry, Neelam, it looks like there's somebody in the lobby, although I don't recognize that number.
I don't know. I think I forwarded you an email. I don't know. They were saying, I think you should have it. It says that it wouldn't be a problem if you attend the meeting, but I'm the organizer, so I don't know. Seems like it was a fake email.
Well,
So
I don't see any, I don't see a phone number in that email. All I saw was a message from Greg.
yeah, so I don't know his number. I know Rebecca said that she's gonna call. Rebecca, are you on the call?
Yeah, I think Rebecca's on here.
Okay.
Yeah, we heard Rebecca. Greg, I can see you twice on my screen. Is that what's giving you feedback? Have you logged on twice?
I'm not sure what.
Okay, I just wanted to say, I don't know.
Okay. Better.
Maybe somebody else is pretending to be Greg. I don't know.
I think it's
Well,
me.
no, I think, yeah, I think it's somehow another Greg has joined us twice, but that 901 phone number, since it's a public meeting, we need to let them in, but Neelam, I think you need to check the settings to make sure that you are the only presenter. So that if, I mean, it's a phone number, so they wouldn't be able to present anyway, but just to also make sure that you have the ability to mute that person.
Settings.
And then once you've done that, I think you can let them in, because I don't see that phone number on our commission commission member database.
The settings doesn't give me any options though. It says meeting information. It doesn't tell me who's in there though.
Well, it would be under settings, probably.
So yeah, that's what I'm doing under settings. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jim. I don't know. It's not letting me.
Okay, well,
see.
okay, well, so I think we need to let that person in, but remember we discussed at the
Yeah,
staff
yeah,
meeting for any future meeting, make sure that the settings are set up so that only
yeah, I know.
only internal folks are allowed as presenters, to make sure we don't have, just for those of you who are joining, there was another state public meeting that was not at all related to Volunteer Tennessee, but someone got in and kind of hijacked the presentation and put up inappropriate material and displayed it to everyone. So we're uh, and since we don't know that number, we're just trying to be a bit cautious. So Neelam, I think you can go ahead and let that person in.
But it's not even letting me in though. It says one waiting, but it's not letting me making that person in for me. Okay, let's see. Okay,
Well,
so let's see. Yeah, yeah, I think I admitted that. Good afternoon. Who just joined the call? If you can please introduce yourself.
all right. Well, that solves that problem.
Sorry about that. Now we can continue. Mhm. I think you're muted, Greg.
Yeah, Greg, we heard you there for a bit, and now you're gone again.
I don't know. You still can't hear me?
Oh, we can hear
Now
you
we
now.
can.
Yeah.
See, I don't know what's going on my end. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Mhm.
But when I hear you all, it's verbal. It's all jumbled.
I think you're signed in twice. I don't know if that is doing it.
Oh, okay.
And we can hear you on the second one, not the first one.
Let me.
Whoop, there you went. Okay, now. Can you talk? We can't hear you.
Hear you. Maybe
Yeah, Greg.
log.
Yeah, Greg. I think you might try just logging out completely and rejoining the meeting and see if that fixes it. Well, while we wait for Greg to rejoin, did anybody have any thoughts about the theme? Vaughn likes the first one. The Keeping Volunteerism Alive in Tennessee.
Or a combination maybe. Volunteerism, strengthening Tennessee. But I like the first one too.
Yeah, and these are all just kind of the ones that are related to the 250th are ones that I think that Rebecca had GPT generate some ideas. The other two, I don't remember where those came from. I think maybe they were from the previous call of the committee.
I like the first one too, keeping volunteerism alive in Tennessee. I don't like reimagining volunteerism because that is, every organization has used that for the past 2 years, and I believe it's become kind of redundant and trite. And so I would pick something other than that.
Greg is back.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going. I'm
We can
sorry.
hear you. We can
No,
hear
we can
you.
hear you. Yeah, we can hear and see you. Sorry, Greg, we were just chatting about the theme while we were waiting for you to come back on.
Uh-huh. Any one jumps out at anybody?
Well, the consensus of the folks who've spoke up so far was that they liked the first one, the Keeping Volunteerism Alive in were, and that's kind of where we were when you jump back in.
I can live with that one. It's fine. So everybody agrees that will be our theme? Any other discussion on that one? So is that consensus?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Jim, and walk us through the agenda.
Oh yeah, sure. Neelam, it might help if you maybe make it a little bit bigger
Sure.
for folks.
How about that?
I'd keep going until it fills the frame, if you don't mind. I think that's easier for people in general. Okay, that's great. Yeah. Okay, so now you can scroll down a bit until the agenda actually is on the screen.
Okay, sure.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, it hasn't changed. If you're scrolling, there you go. Okay, yeah. If you keep going until Thursday is on the screen. Okay, and so now somebody's Anya Fair. Lynn Anya Fair.
I don't know who that person is though.
I don't know who it is, but I mean, it is a public meeting, so we need to admit them. But Neelam, if you'll be ready to just kind of put them on mute or I don't know. Yeah, so the agenda, it's there's not a lot of difference between this one and the version that Neelam sent earlier, except that on the first day we had the inspirational moment, which is typically the time when the commission hears from a current partner about what they're doing in that partnership with Volunteer Tennessee. And the United Way of South Central Tennessee said that they could do it, but they couldn't do it on Thursday. They can do it on Friday. So I moved that from Thursday down to Friday and just kind of adjusted the agenda on Friday to accommodate that. the couple things that the committee needs to figure out. One is the get to know you activity. And that's typically some sort of icebreaker, but we have to keep in mind that we will have people joining remotely. And so it needs to be something that can engage the people who are online, in addition to the people who will be in the room. And so if someone on the committee wants to lead that, then we can plug your name right in there. If not, we can find someone on staff that would be willing to lead that. But I thought I'd check with you all to see if anybody wants to take that on. And you don't have to speak up right now. We've got time. So if you want to think about it, that's totally fine. Otherwise, I think the first day would be primarily, I'm sorry, did someone say something? Okay. The first day would be primarily spent in working on the state service plan, which is kind of the big thing that the commission has to do at this meeting per federal statute. We've got to get that new state plan approved at this meeting because it's the last meeting of the year. Well, I mean, technically, you could Terry could call a special called meeting for the commission to approve it after the retreat sometime in December, but that would be kind of probably a little bit difficult. So after the icebreaker type activity, then the committees would break up and work a bit more on the draft state plan. The committees have already been doing that, and those of you who I think we did it on this committee, the last meeting where we kind of went through the draft version and talked about outputs and outcomes. Each committee is doing that. And so we'll have, by the time of the retreat, we'll have all that committee work ready for you all to review. And then the committees can talk a little bit more, and then that morning, and then come back after lunch, and the committees can report out on what they recommend to be kind of in the final version. And then we can just kind of hash it out, and spend about an hour talking about what outputs and outcomes you all want to include in the final version. Then once we have that kind of consensus on what should be in the final version, then the committees would break back out at 1:15 and start working on their individual plans for 2026 in terms of what each committee is actually going to do in 2026 based on the consensus agreement on what the plan's actually going to look like. And so that would be, for an hour. Then we'd need to wrap up activities probably around 2:30 or so. So we could extend that committee work time maybe a little bit, but we need to get on the road probably no later than about 2:40 to get to the service project. It's not too terribly far, but it will be getting close to the end of the day. And Greg, I don't know how bad traffic is in Murfreesboro around 3:00 in the afternoon, but just in case.
That's out of town, it's bad because you got Riverdale High School.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Kind of hard to get out of that parking lot to turn left to go back.
Gotcha. Okay. So we want to make sure we give ourselves enough time. So we need to get on the road by about 2:40, which gives us 20 minutes to get there. And again, it's not too terribly far distance wise, but just give us a little bit of time. The service project, the Nourish Food Bank is where we'll be doing the service project. Do that for a couple hours, then wrap up, do a group photo. We can head back to the hotel and people can freshen up a little bit. And then the group dinner at 6:30, hopefully. I've done some outreach to a couple different restaurants that Greg suggested, and I'm waiting to hear back. And Greg, in addition to the ones you suggested, I looked at a couple more just to make sure, because I haven't heard back from the Puckett's is one that Greg suggested, and so they don't have they have online forms that you can do for group reservations, and so I've done those online forms for the couple restaurants that that have those, but I haven't heard back from them yet. So I'll keep trying to nail that down. But somewhere, I think it would be nice to have it in the little town square. And so for those of you who are familiar with a lot of Tennessee towns, they have little squares, and sometimes in the middle there's a monument, sometimes it's just an open square. And Murfreesboro has a town square, and there's a couple of restaurants there that I think would just be kind of fun for folks to experience that kind of what Murfreesboro was like when it was a small town and not a big gigantic city that it is now. So, but that depends on whether or not we can get in into one of those restaurants.
Is Puckett's in that square?
Yeah, Puckett's is on the square. Mm-hmm.
Okay, because they are in Columbia too, so I was just asking. I think that would be perfect.
Yeah, and so Puckett's I've reached out to. There's a couple other ones that are on now. So the one thing I'm concerned about Puckett's is I'm pretty sure they can do gluten-free. You know, they can throw a slab of meat on your plate with nothing else. But the vegetarian options I'm a little bit concerned about. I think that they do have vegetables, but if you've eaten at Puckett's before, you probably know that their vegetables come with a couple beans and a whole slab of bacon. You know, so it's kind of like, well, just so I want to actually talk to them and make sure that they do have some legitimate vegetarian options. So that's my only concern about them. But otherwise, they have a private room if it's available that I think would be great for us. Yeah, and it is good. It's good Southern food for sure. Attendees would need to be aware that they'll come away with their fair share of butter. So anyway, but I think it would be fun. Puckett's is a nice restaurant in the square. Again, I think would be fun. There's a couple others that aren't on the square that could also accommodate us, but again, I haven't heard back from any of those. So I'll keep working on that.
Did you
I
try,
really like being on the square, Jim. I like the feel of that. I like that a lot. If you can get it to work. I mean, if they won't respond, they won't respond, and it'll be a large group, so you have to get them to respond.
Yeah. Well, and there's a couple other restaurants that are also on the square. The other one that I thought would be a good option, although, so I'm pretty sure they can do the vegetarian side, but the gluten-free side, I'm not sure. It's an Italian restaurant, so it's like all pasta. So they would need to have like a gluten-free pasta option. Yeah, Terry.
also,
Am I the
I'm
only
sorry.
gluten-free person that you have to worry about, Jim?
I'm not sure because I'm not sure all of the folks who are going to attend in person, because I haven't the response is still open for people to respond. But you're certainly important to us in terms of being able to eat.
Oh, I was just going to say, if it's just me, I certainly can order a salad and maybe a piece of chicken or something. But so don't worry if it's just me. I'll adjust.
Yeah, and they all have salads. So they all have salads that would be okay for vegetarians, and they also all have salads that would be okay for gluten-free folks.
Yeah.
So I think we can make any of them work. We would just need to, set our expectations going into whatever place we're going into. Like if we go to Puckett's, the vegetarians might have to be happy with a garden salad,
Sure.
and that might be their option.
Sure.
But it's about the fellowship and not about the food. So as long as we're all okay with that, I think we'll be able to make any of these things work.
Jim, another good option downtown is the alley on Main. Did I have that on the list?
You didn't, but
really
I
good.
found it.
Yeah.
I found it as I
They're
kind of
good.
just did a Google search,
Yes.
and they were one of the ones that I found. Yeah,
If Puckett's doesn't work out, I would say that would be a good number 2 choice because
sure.
I'm sure they could accommodate all the dietary needs and
Yeah.
all your
Well,
state regulations as well. So
yeah. And I also looked at them because they could potentially cater our lunch
that's
on
good.
Thursday and Friday because they do catering in addition to the restaurant.
Right.
And it's possible, you know, if they did that, maybe they could just kind of wrap it all up into one package and we could just do a single payment to them. So, but you know, we'll see. I'll keep plugging away on that. But it sounds like people agree that the square would be fun and people like that idea. So I'll keep working. I'll prioritize the square and try and find something on the square. So that would be Friday. Any questions or suggestions about Friday? I mean, the main focus is trying to wrap up the state service plan. Yeah, and Betty put in the chat that online Puckett says gluten-free and vegan options. I'm highly skeptical that they have vegan options, but I'll take their word for it. I can't believe that.
Now they say they have a portobello burger, like portobello mushroom with onions and whatever. So I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay.
Just
Again,
saying.
I'll take their word for it. I'm not a vegan, so
Don't believe everything you read, yeah.
yeah, we'll just have, if we have, I don't think we've got any vegans right now, but if we do, we'll just tell them to, you know, maybe pack something just in case. Okay. So Friday, we typically start off each day of the retreat with a light breakfast, but on Friday, we're not going to actually be able to get into the room. Actually, sorry, I think that
that was Thursday.
Yeah. Sorry, Thursday. Yeah, sorry. I meant to mention that earlier, but typically we start Thursday and Friday. Neil, if you can scroll back up to the top of Thursday. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, that's good. So we would typically start Thursday and Friday with a light breakfast because, you know, it's the first thing in the morning, but we can't actually get into the room until 8:30 because there's a meeting prior, and I'm just concerned that we wouldn't have enough time for the caterer to get in and set up and do all that. So instead, what we'll do is I've got a 10-cup coffee maker that I'll bring, and I'll pick up some fruit and maybe some bagels, something simple in case people have come straight there and haven't had a time for breakfast, but we won't actually have a breakfast. Sorry, Neil. Now, if you can scroll back down to Friday. Now, Friday, the hotel provides a free breakfast. So I thought we would just tell people who are staying overnight, just eat before you come to the meeting space. Anybody who's going to be coming in that day is probably going to be local. So Greg, grab breakfast before you come.
All right.
And we'll have a couple folks who are going to be kind of commuting in and out. But again, we'll have coffee, and I'll pick up, you know, I'll have some fruit and bagels and that kind of thing in case anybody needs a little snack. Then I moved these times up from what was on the version that Neelam sent out because the people who have to travel will already be there. You know, travel and stay overnight are already going to be there. The people who are commuting in mostly aren't going to be coming from too terribly far away. So we typically start the day a little bit earlier on Friday. So if we can start at 8:30, that'll give us a little bit more time to work on the state plan and a few other things, and also to fit in the inspirational moment. So I adjusted all of those times based on that. So if you remember on Thursday, the last activity before we go to the service project is going to be the committees kind of breaking out and kind of starting to work on their plan for 2026. So I thought we'd start the day with the committees kind of just doing a brief report out on what they think they're going to be doing. That way, if anybody's kind of talking about doing the same thing, we can figure that out and say, okay, these two committees are talking about doing exactly the same thing. Does it make sense for both of them to do it? If not, who's going to take the lead on it? If it makes sense for both of them to do it, how's it going to play out? And so we kind of synchronize all that kind of stuff. And so each committee would have, time to report out and talk a little bit about what they're doing. And then the commission can kind of hash all that stuff out. The inspirational moment, as I mentioned, the United Way of South Central, they're one of our partners with the Tennessee Serves portal. And so Haley's going to come in and just talk a little bit about how they utilize the portal, maybe some of the statistics from, number of volunteers, that kind of thing. And again, that's just so that the commission members can connect what they do at meetings to what's actually happening on the ground. And then the committees will break back out into individual groups. There's a little bit of time for committees to review what they did in 2025. But that's just kind of a quick 30 minutes. We shouldn't get too bogged down in that because, we're almost at the end of 2025 and there's no need to spend a whole lot of time crying over what we did or didn't do. So spend a little bit of time doing that. And then break back out into committees. They can continue to work on their action plan for 2026. If there's any other business that the committees need to do, for example, the Board Development Committee needs to talk about the nominees to fill any vacant slots. And then a little bit of time to talk for people to kind of go up, and we'll have a printout of a calendar for 2026 and mark days that work well for them for commission meetings and days that don't work for them that can put kind of checks and X's. But that won't take long. And people can kind of just on their own kind of go up and mark on that calendar. Then break out into a working lunch for just a little bit to get our lunch, and then go into the business meeting. And the business meeting is, the quorum check, the minutes. I'll do a quick director's report. James Hoggard, who is the new chair of Friends, and who also is the newest appointee for the Volunteer Tennessee Commission. He'll do a brief report out of Friends. Then the commission will need to formally vote on the state service plan that it agreed to on Thursday in terms of what the final version looks like. And if you all want to change things based on what happens, later in the day, Thursday or early Friday morning, as committees talk a little bit more, as long as everybody agrees and we can track what changes you all want to make and make that clear for the minutes, you all can make additional changes, but that'll be the time to actually vote on it and approve it. Then there's a little bit of voting on funding stuff. So reviewing the formula recommendation revision that the executive committee approved after the August meeting, because remember in August we didn't have a quorum. So the executive committee had to meet and approve that. And just to have the full commission ratify that. And we also, since then, we finally got the one program that was kind of dangling out there that was uncertain about their competitive funding. That's come through. So all that's set. And then the timeline for the next funding process needs to be revised. So we'll have a version of that for you all to vote on. And then election of officers, and then recognition of outgoing officers and commission members whose terms are up, whether or not they are going to seek reappointment, we still recognize people whose terms will be up. Then public comment and wrap up. And the wrap up, it might be a bit of a discussion. Sometimes the board development committee chair or someone from the board development committee will just kind of pick a few highlights from the retreat and just summarize things. I mean, that's totally up to you all if you want to do that. If not, we can just kind of focus on the typical wrap up stuff of evaluations and travel forms. Yeah, Yvonne says she likes that idea. Tracy's been around for a while and could maybe have some guidance for Greg if you want to do that, or if you want to tap someone else on the board development committee to do that brief summary. And again, it's just
Yvonne to do that.
Oh yeah.
If she would.
Okay. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be anything formal. It's just kind of picking a couple highlights of the retreat and saying, here's what we accomplished for this retreat. And then wrap up and get out after, of course, after the public comment. So that's kind of the draft. Happy to take any input from you all in terms of, I mean, it's your retreat. So if there's stuff that you want to change, adjust, we can certainly do that.
Now the slate of officers, will we have time? Will we work on that in our committee meetings, or we need to have that done before the retreat? I don't know how. I can't remember.
I think.
I think we were going to do that today. Are we not doing it today?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's on the agenda for today to discuss that, because Greg, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the deadline was, sorry, my mouse has stopped working, so I can't get to my calendar to look. I think that the deadline for submissions has already passed for that. Is that right?
That's correct.
So you should have all of the
September 24th. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was September 24th, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
So I believe you should have all the, I think that was on the, I mean, we can keep talking about the retreat agenda and then move to that. But
y'all have those.
Okay. And no, go ahead.
This is Tracy. While we're talking about the slate of officers, because of some of the things that happened last year, and I know there was some discussion about this, instead of waiting to the very end to announce the slate, so that there's time for people to think about it. And also, I think with the slate, we need to, usually we just give the slate and we sort of, I guess, expect everybody to know who's on the slate, but maybe we give a little bit more of a bio of whoever we choose for that slate. Maybe we announce that slate Thursday evening right before we leave, or Friday morning, or some other time that we announce that slate, so it doesn't feel like, here are your officers, everybody vote, let's go. And that we make sure that when we are voting, that because we didn't do this last year, that we ask if there's any nominations from the floor at that particular time. It's just a suggestion about, kind of announcing that slate before, to give people an opportunity to think about it instead of the 2 minutes we give people to think about it. So it's whatever you all think, though. But I do think we should, whenever we vote, that we do allow nominations from the floor at that appropriate time for voting. And I think we forgot and left that off last year.
Yeah, and I don't.
Here, I have one question before you answer, and this might be what you're going to say, Jim. Since we instituted the process of the form, how does that affect nominations on the floor? That's what I was thinking. I like the idea, though, Tracy, but I don't know how that's going to affect it.
Yeah, right. Well, what I was going to say is I'm not sure how Robert's Rules of Order affects when you present a slate. I mean, we briefly talked about it last year, but we didn't get too far into it. And Nathan, I think, is more familiar with Robert's Rules of Order than I am, so he might be able to answer this question. I think, though, the way it works is if the nominating committee, which is the board development committee, presents the slate, then the if I remember correctly from the discussion last year, the someone can make a motion to approve the slate, and if that's then seconded, then during the comment section, someone could say that they want to run for a position, and then I think you then do approve the slate minus that particular position, and then have a vote for that particular officer. Although I could be completely garbling that from my recollection from last year. So I think if the nominating committee is presenting a slate, you don't do an open call for nominations. You present the slate, and if someone wants to be nominated or wants to nominate someone else, then they have to actively do it, I think, is the way it works. And again, I'm no expert on Robert's Rules of Order, so we'd need to kind of try and verify that.
And I think we tried to avoid that situation this year by creating the application so that any commissioner who wanted to run for an office had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. And just also for an additional, sorry, well, just as an additional bit of information, we typically do send the slate out along a week beforehand, along with all the other materials. The problem is last year we didn't have the slate fixed until a couple of days before the retreat. So we didn't, it wasn't ready to send out prior to the retreat. But with this new system of having the nominations and then you all kind of talking about it today, as long as you all agree on what the slate is going to be, then I can have that ready to go with all the other materials that will be ready a week before the retreat starts, which would be, I think, October 30th. Yeah. So that would be posted online with all the other materials.
Jim, your recollection is basically my recollection as far as Roberts, and I am not an expert either. Yeah. But if you are going to take, like you said, the nominations from the floor, they have to be able to present the same information that everyone else presented. It's almost like they have like a little short, campaign, and that's not the right word, yeah. But they have to present themselves the way everyone else presented themselves, and it just makes it more complicated.
Yeah.
That is my memory of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is Rebecca. Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I just sent an email to Jim because I couldn't make anyone hear me a bit ago. I've served as parliamentarian for a number of organizations, and I'm certainly not an expert, but I do know a little bit about it. And usually if a nomination is made from a committee, it does not need a second. I think someone, probably Jim, it was you, that said something about that several minutes ago. And I'm sorry, I don't know the name, but whoever it was that said, if a nomination does rise from the floor, that person or those persons do need to have some, and I don't want to use the word campaign, but some campaign time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So thank you, Rebecca. That's very helpful. So then you don't have to have the second, you just have to have a motion to approve the slate. Is that right?
Since it comes from a committee, unless it states otherwise in the bylaws, and occasionally there will be some bylaws of organizations I've seen that do say, even though Robert's Rules says, we choose to supersede that, and we need to have a second for any motions that come from committees. So unless our bylaws state differently, yeah, you don't need to have a second, since it does come from a committee.
Okay. Well, yeah, and Volunteer Tennessee doesn't have anything that would supersede Robert's rules of order. So,
Very
so
few
then
organizations do.
yeah. So then there would be a motion, and then there would be discussion, and then during that discussion, would that be when someone would say, "Hey, I want to make a nomination of somebody else," or "I want to nominate myself," or is that when that would happen during the discussion?
Typically, the chair or whoever is speaking for the Board Development Committee will say, "Are there any motions from the floor?"
Okay.
And that's everybody's opportunity to speak and nominate themselves or nominate somebody else with the other person's permission. And, you know, if nobody has any other nominations, typically the chair will say something along the lines of, with no other nominations being heard, I declare nominations closed.
Okay. Well, maybe Rebecca, we'll chat offline with you and Terry, and we'll work up some language to put in the. Yeah, thank you so much. We'll work up some language to put in, kind of to give Terry some guidelines in terms of what to say at that point, because I'm certainly not. Have never been a parliamentarian, so you're far advanced, much more advanced than me on any of this. Okay. Yeah. So that's all I had for the agenda. Greg, I don't know if you want to continue discussing that, or if you want to continue discussing the officer nominations. It's totally up to you.
We can move to the officer nominations. I can tell you what we have, what I've received. Okay. For secretary, I'm sorry, for treasurer, we have an application from Yvonne Wood. That's the one for that position. For secretary, I have one application from Rebecca Henderson. Yeah, who also wishes to be on Strategic Partnership Committee. Or if she's already on Strategic Partnership Committee, I'm not sure. Is Rebecca already on Strategic Partnership Committee?
She's on Board Development.
She's on this one. Yeah, she's on this committee. That's the Rebecca that was just speaking about the parliamentarian stuff.
Yes. So
but that's totally fine. If members want to switch around committees, that's totally fine.
Okay. Well, we just want officers right now.
Right.
Okay. So Secretary Rebecca Henderson.
Yeah, and so Greg, there's a couple things in the chat. So Terry noted that she is stepping away so that the committee can discuss. Okay. And then Yvonne asked if she needs to step out. So
could we hear the other nominations first before we step out?
Sure.
Yeah, I think it probably makes sense to hear the full slate of who's applied for what before people leave, but I think it probably is a good idea for people to kind of mute themselves and step back during the discussion part.
From committee chair for grants and for the grants committee is Eileen Wallum. Only one for that. Jason Scott. He checked officer which you're applying, chair or vice chair or committee chair. And the committee, he's interested in strategic partnerships. So I guess committee chair, he has that checked, and then he also has checked chair or vice chair. So or vice chair of Foundation of Service is Betty White. Now, Betty, was that vice chair of Volunteer Tennessee?
No, it
or vice
wasn't.
chair
No,
of-
it
of
was
chair?
Foundation of Service. It was just vice chair
Okay,
of the commission.
all right, gotcha. So vice chair of the commission. Have Terry interested in being chairman of Volunteer Tennessee as well, and Nathan Farner, vice chair. For one, for chair, we've got Terry, Jason, Farner. And then for vice chair, we've got also Jason, Scott, Nathan Farner, and Betty White. So 3 applications for vice chair of the Volunteer Tennessee. 1 for chair.
We have 2 for chair, Jason and Terry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're right. I hope somebody's writing this down. Yeah. Jason and Terry, you're right. And then Rebecca for secretary and Yvonne for treasurer. Those are the applications that I have. Okay. So.
Yeah, my question
Can
is.
anyone hear me?
Yes.
This
Yes.
is Rebecca. Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I did not indicate that I wanted to be secretary.
What?
Oh, yeah. So Rebecca's saying she didn't want to be secretary. I think if I remember correctly, Rebecca, in our conversations, that you were interested in being a vice chair for one of the committees. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, I had said co-chair, vice chair for strategic partnership. But I mean, I'll do whatever for any committee, but not secretary. I'm not ready to be a chair of a committee. This is only the beginning of my 2nd year, and I'm certainly not ready to be an officer.
Oh, well, it says you got checked. It's an X here, Rebecca. I'm looking at, it says secretary, and then you got an X by Strategic Partnerships Committee.
Well, I did have a lot of trouble filling out that form.
Okay.
So I apologize. I did not realize that that had dinged on the wrong thing, and my apologies. But no,
So you're
I'm not interested in. No, I would not be a very good secretary. I've done that job before, and it's a very hard job.
So you're only interested in Strategic Partnership Committee, is that correct?
That or any other co-chair position that the committee thinks that I would be good at doing.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
And again, my apologies. I'm so sorry about that, but I did have a hard time filling that out.
All right.
Well, the chair selects, assigns, the committee roles. Yes.
Yes.
So, we wouldn't, this group wouldn't have a discussion about chair of committees.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the goal was to have an application process so that we at least knew who was interested in those, in chairing those who would be interested in chairing a committee, so that the chair of the commission would then not have to just guess at who may or may not be willing to do it and have to go out and kind of beat the bushes to find people. So I think that was, so yeah, so I think you're right that this committee could, I mean, the committee could recommend to the chair who they think should be chairs of committees, but the bylaws and I think even maybe the executive order specify that the chair determines who will chair the committees.
Okay.
Let's see.
So it sounds like then, Greg, if I can, I've tried to take notes and recap. For chair, you had Terry and Jason. For vice chair, you had Jason, Betty, and Nathan. For treasurer, Yvonne, and then secretary, it sounds like maybe we didn't get any.
That's right.
Any for secretary. And then we've got the couple folks that express interest in the committees, Eileen for grants, Jason for strategic partnerships, and also Rebecca for strategic partnerships. And it sounds like Rebecca's happy to play whatever role is necessary. So
correct.
Yeah. So it sounds like then obviously there's a gap for secretary. And Betty put in the chat that
we have one. Yvonne's interested in secretary. There's no one for treasurer.
Oh, I thought it was Yvonne who had said she wanted to do treasurer, but
wait a minute.
And I think she's already jumped off. So
correct. I'm sorry, treasurer. I wrote it down wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So the treasurer secretary is what we don't have any current interest in.
Correct.
And Betty says she's happy to bow out for Jason or Nathan. And I think she's already dropped off. Okay. So I think for the
is it just me and Tracy left on the committee?
You and Tracy and Rebecca.
Oh, Rebecca. Okay.
Are left.
I can drop off if you need me to. I'm happy to drop off.
I don't think you need to. Yeah, I don't think you need to because again the chair of committees is up to the chair of the commission. So I don't think there's any reason for you to drop off for this discussion.
Right.
Okay.
But Betty has dropped off. I think Yvonne Terry has dropped off and Terry has dropped off.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I guess my comment would be, if we were talking about chair, is that Terry has done it for 1 year. Typically chairs, I know that the bylaws state 1 year, but typically they've done them 2 years in a row because it kind of takes you a year to get your feet on the ground and understand all the moving parts. And then the second year you have a better idea of and can do more, I think. And since she has said she would like a second year, you know, I'm okay with with doing that based on, you know, just history of what has
bylaws. We do the bylaws with her say we're in the second term. I just want to make sure of that. Or does the bylaws address that, Jim?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question, Greg?
Bylaws address the tenure of chair and vice chair?
Yeah, they address the chair can serve no more than 2 terms. So Terry's only served 1, so she would be eligible to serve a second.
Okay, so I'll agree with that recommendation, Tracy.
This is Rebecca. For what it's worth, I do too. It does take a while to learn the role and everything.
Okay. All right, so we good on that. Vice chair was Nathan Farner, Betty White, or Jason Scott.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Jason has ever, he's been on the commission for a while. I don't think he's ever served as the officer, has he, Jim?
No, he was the chair of board development committee, but I don't.
He's on the committee, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he, well, hold on just a second. Let me double check. Just to make sure, let's see. Oh, no, he was treasurer. So yeah, that's not correct that he wasn't an officer. He was treasurer in 2024.
So what's the pleasure of the committee? You've got Nathan, Betty, and Jason.
They're all excellent folks.
They are.
I know in previous discussions on this committee, a lot of times it was the vice chair was chosen to follow the chair after 2 terms. And Jason would, has indicated that he would like to be chair. So serving as vice chair would give him that opportunity. Not that I know what the discussion will be the following year, but that would give him that opportunity to sit in that role as vice chair and to support the chairs, to support the chair. I am wondering if Betty or Nathan would consider serving as secretary.
Okay, that's a good point.
Well, it might be worthwhile to ask all 3 of them. If any of the 3, it's a bit of a pickle to have multiple people for one position and nobody for another one.
Sure.
That's kind of a tough spot to be in. And I also, when I've not spoken to any of these folks about this, so I don't know. I don't know if Betty is interested in becoming chair at some point, or if Nathan is also interested in becoming chair at some point. I don't know, Greg, how you want to handle it, but that could be a bit of an additional discussion. I hate to suggest that the committee would need to have another meeting, but that might be the case. Although, I mean, if you all want to just kind of
with all 3 of them with that conversation, would they be interested in becoming chair at the end of the second?
Yeah. And that's, I mean, Tracy's right. That's kind of been the tacit assumption. I mean, it's not called chair elect. It's just called vice chair. That in the past has been the general understanding that people who take on the role of vice chair at least have some interest in the future of becoming chair. It's not a requirement though. So if any of the 3 of them say, look, I really am interested in vice chair, but not chair, that doesn't mean that you all shouldn't consider them, because we have had people in the chair role, in the vice chair role in the past, who've said, I'm really not interested in becoming chair.
Yeah.
But again, that's totally up to you all in terms of what you want to recommend.
I mean, I think they're all 3 great candidates for vice chair and for chair. I mean, so, and even if somebody said, well, I'm not really interested in chair, I'm fine with all 3 of them. It's just hard to, I don't know how we select between 3 wonderful folks.
I'll follow. I have their phone numbers and emails. I'll follow up with those 3 and I will keep Tracy, you and Rebecca and Jim loop, and we'll go from there. See what, I'll give you their responses and we'll go from there.
Right.
Is that okay?
Yeah, but I'm wondering, are you going to ask them also about secretary, or are you going to,
Yes,
or are you
yes,
just
I
going
will.
to? Okay.
Yes, I will as well. Okay. So we have two officers to present. Terry is chair and Yvonne is treasurer. So, and then I will follow up with you guys after I talk to 3 of those members. All right.
Greg, just another question. And we've done this in the past, and we certainly don't have to do it. Do we want to have door prizes and giveaways? And if you say no, that's fine with me.
I mean, I'd hate to say yes, but I don't have time myself to work on that before.
Well, I mean, if you think it's important and we want to do it, I'll say, I can do it. But if not, I'm happy not to do it because
Did we do it last retreat?
We did.
I wasn't able to. Okay.
Yeah. But it's really tough when we have people online, and usually what I do is if an online person gets drawn, then I just donate money to whatever our service project was. That's what I did last year, is I just donated money to the service project. And it would be Nourish Food Bank. I think I did $10 or $20 in their name, in their honor.
Well, I know the Nourish Food Bank is having a hard time right now with all the cuts. And Jim, what was your conversation with her about our project? Did she indicate they still have a big need for food?
Well, we didn't talk about that. We just kind of, went back and forth about the actual service project. So I don't know.
What's the service project?
Well, we're going to be, I'll have to go back and look at my notes. We're going to be doing something at that actual food bank.
Gotcha.
I can't remember if we're going to be preparing meals or serving meals, because not meals, but serving customers who come in, because that's the time when people come in to utilize the food bank. So I'll have to go back and take a look.
Tracy, my suggestion would be, I do know they're having a hard time. I do know they've had some major cuts. I would suggest, instead of door prizes, asking the board or commission members to make just a monetary donation to Nourish Food Bank. And we would take that when we go on Thursday.
Have we ever done that before?
I don't know.
Have we ever asked the board to give money to the organization before?
Not that I can recall. I mean, we'd certainly have provided information for folks. I can't remember, Tracy, to be honest with you. I don't think so, because we don't want to put people in an awkward position where we essentially pass the plate and they feel like they have to donate. So I don't think we've done that, but I think in the past what we may have done is, as follow-up to the retreat, provided information about where we served, and if people wanted to go donate to them, that they could.
Okay.
But it wasn't an expectation.
Okay.
This is Rebecca. I hate to jump in off the subject, but I had to get off the call for about 4 minutes. My apologies. I got back in just a few minutes ago, when you were talking about the secretary, and it just strikes me that Nathan might be a really good secretary. He has a lot of attention to detail.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know if you might want to talk to him about that position. I mean, he may just flat out say no, but I think he would be very diligent. I think he'd be very good. And that's my 2 cents, and I'll be quiet.
No, that's great. Thank you. And I'm going to follow up with all 3 of them about that option as well. So, yeah, I will plan to ask them that, all 3 of them.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Tracy, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, so like we just dished that idea then about the donation.
Okay.
And I hate to put all that on you for door prizes because it's.
Well, I just usually bring silly things or, like, a pot of mums or stuff like that. But if we don't want to do it, because it does take a little bit of time to, and I don't want to take time away from, because we're usually always stressed for time.
Right.
So maybe I'll just do one at the end. Well, maybe we'll just do one at the end.
Okay.
Tracy, it's Rebecca. How many door prizes are you looking for?
Oh, we've done, I don't know. Usually I just bring 5 or 6 things. It just depends on what I find and kind of, what I have time for. And, I've brought flowers. I've done gift cards. And then once we started going online, what I've done is just, if you're an online winner, instead of mailing you something, then an online person gets a donation made to the group of the charity that we served. And then,
right.
Let
me toss this idea out to you. It'll save you some time. It'll help me. I was cleaning up my garage the other day, and I wrote a book many years ago about how to be a good volunteer, how to be a leadership level influencer, things like that. I'm happy to mail you some of those books.
Oh, are you coming to the conference?
No, well, I think I'm not. I may be able to, but right now it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to.
Okay.
But I'm happy to put some in the mail.
Yeah, just send them to Jim instead of sending them to me,
Okay. Sure.
and
Sure.
and we can have that. And Jim, in the past,
So
in the
about
closet,
6?
yeah, there's been
Okay,
books
sure.
and stuff in the closet too. So,
And I'll bring a mom or 2.
okay. We
Yeah.
just give,
Yeah,
it's
do
just
that.
supposed to be for fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's fun or
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
Well, it'll help me clean out my garage, so this is a good thing.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anything else today?
Did we decide on the icebreaker?
No, we did not.
I can ask staff if a staff member is willing to lead that if you all want, or if somebody wants to take it on, that's totally fine too.
Jim, I don't know if I can take it on, but if the icebreaker had something to do with Tennessee Serves, I think that would be really good. And I'm willing to work with a staff member to kind of think that up, but I don't know how we could do that as an icebreaker, but because I do think everybody on the board needs to be registered on Tennessee Serves.
Mm-hmm.
And count their time, for their committee meetings, and count their time for their board service.
Right.
So, and since our inspirational moment is going to be is somebody from the Tennessee Serves portal, then, if we had an icebreaker for then everybody would have at least viewed it. Because I bet there's some people that haven't viewed the Tennessee Serves portal.
Yeah. Well, we'll put our heads together at the staff and see if we can come up with something related to Tennessee Serves. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. And Jim, let me know if there's anything else I can do on this end. If you're good with the food bank, you've made connections with them and everything.
Hmm. Yeah, the food bank, we're set for the service project. The space, we're set for the space. The hotel is set. The only thing I'm working on now, I do need to verify the Thursday dinner and then the caterer. But I was going to try and again, kind of the caterer depends on whether or not we, if we do the alley, then I think for dinner, I think it makes sense for them to do everything. If not, then there's some other caterers that I'm looking at as well.
Okay. That's all I have. Is there anything else? Is that it, Jim, today?
I believe so. We did not receive any requests for public comment, so we didn't get any requests for that.
Now, we won't have another meeting before the retreat. Is that right?
It depends on whether or not you want to pull everybody back together for the discussion about the officers.
Okay, I'll let you know what kind of sponsors I get, and I'll email you all, and then we can make a decision from that point is if we need
Sure.
to have another call.
Yeah.
And you'll have the list of those that we'll recognize, right? You'll have
Yes,
that for us.
Yeah.
Have something. We normally give them something.
Yeah. We give we either give them a tumbler for if they're a tumbler or a blanket,
Okay.
depending on how long they've served. Everybody gets a certificate, but usually people who've served one term get a tumbler, and people who've served 2 terms get a blanket.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. But you'll have that written out for us.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's all I have. So look for email from me next few days, guys, about the remaining officers. So, all right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.